Hey, Facebook family. Where do I start? I have been contemplating on whether or not I should share this. Um, but it's been weighing on me for a couple days now, and I just felt like it was important to share because I know we all travel and we all get on the road and we're going we're going to see. I'm sorry, my phone's ringing. But we travel and we go to see family, and I just felt like this was really important to share. My daughter, me and my daughters were going to Connecticut to a funeral. One of my cousins passed away, and this was Tuesday when we went. And so we get on the highway where we make it to the Jersey Turnpike, and I decide to stop at one of the rest stops. And normally when I stop, I always stop further back in the parking lot just so people don't bump my car or scratch the car, whatever the case may be. But this particular time I parked closer to the rest stop, and there was one car parked on the passenger side, and then there were three other cars parked on the driver's side, and the same scenario in front of me, and there was a space empty in front of my vehicle. So of course I park at the rest stop. I go inside, but before going inside, I noticed a gentleman sitting on the bench, and he didn't make eye contact. He was just kind of sitting there, and I thought it was a little strange, but I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, maybe not. Maybe it's not a big deal. So I didn't pay it any mind, but I was still observant. So when I came out of the rest stop, the man is still sitting there, and he had his head down, but he put his fist up like this in the air. And when he did that, I initially thought, well, what the heck was that? I work in law enforcement, so my radars went up. So I walked around the man because I wasn't sure, and I'm in Jersey, so you already know, up north, off the chain. So I walk around the man to give enough space. If I needed to run, I could. So I finally approached my car, and as I approached my car, this army green van pulls up in front of my car, and three men get out of the car. One of them approached me, and it was like one of those old school caravans from back in the day with a sliding door. Three men get out of the car. There was one man in the passenger seat, and there was a woman driving. And the first man that got out of the car, all three of them, and I'm trying to break this down for you because I want you to kind of get a visual of what happened. But the three men that got out of the car, they were all smoking cigarettes. So I'm kind of just making a visual assessment of what's going on. So when the three men get out of the car, like I said, all three of them were smoking lit cigarettes. It wasn't like they got out and then lit them. So when they get out, the first man approaches me, and he asked me for some money. He was stuck on the highway, and he had a family, he had an infant baby in the car. The second man walks around my car to the passenger side, and the third man stays by the sliding door of the van. And I thought that was significant because when I did this visual assessment, I could see that inside this van, it was pitch black. Like there was no dome light that came on. I couldn't really tell if there were seats in the back of this van because it was so dark in this van. Mind you, it's broad daylight. It's like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. So, I mean, why is it that the inside of your van, especially when the door opens, you can't see anything? Like, it's pitch black. So I thought it to be strange. So this man is talking to me, and I get the impression that he was trying to distract me. And I felt like in my gut that something really bad was about to happen. So when I look at my daughter in the passenger seat and I see this man walk around my car, I immediately thought I knew I had to get in my car and I needed to get out of that parking lot. And God only knows. And I truly, truly feel like if my daughters were not with me at that time, I truly feel like I would have been missing. Just on the strength of him saying, I got an infant baby in my car. I needed some money so I can get to wherever it was to get it fixed. And my first thought was, you got an infant baby in the car, but 3 big men get out of the car and all 3 of them are smoking cigarettes that they did not light when they got out of the car. It was already lit. And I felt like at that time they realized that I wasn't by myself, and it would have been more of a challenge to try to take 3 of us than it would have to take 1. And the man who was on the bench had flagged them to come over to snatch me up. And I felt like I needed to share this because, and I'm trying to do this without tearing up, but I felt like I needed to share this with you all because we all travel and we see a lot of people that are missing, and they go missing every day. And I just want to share with you, be really careful who's around you when you travel. Pay attention to the people who are around you when you travel, because I know on this Tuesday past, had I been by myself to this day, I would be missing. And the only reason why those men didn't snatch me up was because they realized that I was not by myself. And you can tell just from their demeanor, something was not right. And then when I went to back away, when I backed my car out to come out of the parking lot, the lady that was driving, she turned her head, not in a manner of she's engaging in conversation with the person in the passenger seat, but in a manner of she turned her head so I couldn't see her face. So it was more like this and not like she was trying to talk to somebody. And, excuse me, the only reason why I just feel like it's so important for me to share this experience, one, because I just thank God that he spared me for whatever that incident was. I thank him so much because he spared me on Tuesday. But I know had I been by myself, I probably wouldn't be here today. So be very careful. And what I've learned from that experience is to not park in the front of a rest stop, to park where there is more space. And the only reason why I say that is because the more cars that are around you, the easier it is to take somebody and put them in your car, because by the time someone looks around to see where that noise came from, they don't see you because there's so many cars around you, and it's so easy to just shove somebody in their van. And and I didn't tell you, the third man was standing by the sliding door of this van. So it was like they were preparing themselves to snatch me up and put me in this van. And I kicked myself for not remembering the plate number, but I guess the only thing I can think of at that moment in time was to just get out of there, to just get out of that rest stop on the Jersey Turnpike. And what better place to snatch somebody is on a Jersey Turnpike. People are traveling, before you think about where somebody is, hours have gone by, and because they're traveling, whoever is at home expecting a phone call, it might be hours before they call to check on somebody. But I say all of that to say, just be really careful and pay attention to people's body language, because the man who was the guy who was seeking people out, he was sitting on the bench. He was just sitting on a bench, and he put his hand up like this in the air, and that van pulled up in front of me. And these 3 men, their motivation was to put me in the back of their truck, to put me in this van. And when this door opened, and he told me he had an infant baby in there, but all of you get out of the van smoking cigarettes, the sliding door opens and it's completely black in there. There was more to it than this man just asking me for money. The only thing that saved me was that I had my daughters in the truck with me, and it was harder to take 3, well, I should say 4, because my granddaughter was in there too. It's harder to take 4 than it was to take 1. So I say all of that to say, y'all, just be careful when you out there. Pay attention to body language. And my blessing and my saving grace was that I work in law enforcement, so I understand body language. I get it. Pay attention to people you don't know and what their intent is, especially when somebody comes up to you and asks you for money, or, oh, I'm stuck on the highway, and it's 5 other guys. It was 4, 3, 4, 5. So 5 men and 1 woman, and the woman was driving. And the other male, there was 1 man in the passenger seat, which was a black man. And then there were 4 white men, which was 1 that was sitting on the bench, that was just sitting there observing to see who was coming in and out and who they could snatch up. And then the other 3 who were trying to distract me to get me in this van. And y'all, I tell you, I thank God that for whatever reason, he spared my life. Please be careful when you out there. Pay attention to strangers. Don't assume that everything is okay. Body language, especially a gesture like that. I thought it was weird, but I'm like, okay, what was that about? In my mind, I'm like, well, he got Tourette's. What's wrong with him? So I just walked around him. But he was signaling for the van to pull up so they could snatch me up. That's crazy. That is so crazy. And I just wanted to share that with y'all so y'all know when you out there, be safe, be careful, pay attention. If you travel by yourself, if you got to stop at a rest stop and you travel by yourself, tell somebody, just call somebody, hey, yo, I'm stopping at a rest stop. This is where I am, X, Y, and Z, just to let somebody know where you are. And for that to happen to me, and God spared my life, it's a purpose for my life. And I'm so thankful because all 3 of those men were way bigger than me. I mean, the guy who stood in front of me, he looked like he was at least 6'4", 6'5". Be careful out there, y'all, when you travel. Be safe out there when you travel. Peace.